I was really hyped for Mission Impossible 8. I was born in 1996, which is the year the first movie came out, which the date of that film's release is addressed in this film, which is really funny. I've only lived in a life with Mission Impossible, and I love that I've grown with this franchise. That being said, I feel very similarly to this film as I do about Thunderbolts from not that long ago, in that it does some groundbreaking things for that series, but also makes some really questionable decisions getting there, and I just don't really know how they were made at this level. Spoilers, by the way. Let's just get right into it. I think the main thing sticking out to me is the characters and how they were handled and where they end up. Now, some have a really satisfying conclusion to their stories. I think the Briggs character, obviously being Phelps' son, it felt a little thrown in there, but while watching the movie, after that twist is revealed, he does embody a young Jon Voight. Like, he kind of sounds like him. I think that was an intentional decision. Maybe they cast him because of that, but it feels like that character again, except not an evil version. He kind of concludes the story in a good way where he accepts working with Ethan. They have that handshake, and it's all well and good. I like that. That's one of the better of the endings. Luther. Holy crap. I was mad when Taskmaster got iced in Thunderbolts. This is that times 1,000. Because I didn't barely care about Luther. I fucking love Luther. He's the best character other than Ethan Hunt in the entire series. He's the only one besides Tom Cruise who's in all of the films. Even Mission Impossible 2, which sucks. He's the only character that stuck around that whole time with him. And I'm not opposed to giving him a proper send-off. In some ways, they did that effectively. But it's been 2 months in the continuity of the film since that first movie. He never had any type of illness at all. What even it is not even mentioned in this film, like, oh, it just happened. But then just look at the story, right? The story is that Gabriel takes Luther, kidnaps him, puts him in the room with the bomb, blows him up to motivate Tom Cruise to do the whole mission. Okay, I get that. Why did you need him to be ill for that? What was the point of the illness? Pretend Luther's healthy, and let's say the movie's the exact same, except Luther's healthy and all well and good, just like the last one. Gabriel would still capture him, still put him in that room, and still make him not blow up the bomb or whatever the hell happened, and you still get that same script, that same story, same send-off. What was the point of the illness? Literally, from a storytelling perspective, from a character point of view, it made no sense. The only thing I can think of is him handing Ethan the message that says, if I don't make it in time, I put a message on here for you. So maybe they pre-baked in the fact that he was dying. But why didn't you do that in Dead Reckoning 1? Like, why didn't you establish that as part of the series? Dead Reckoning 1 had all the opportunity in the world to establish the exposition that this could pay off of. And this pays off a lot of it, but then just keeps adding more. It's like, why? And the props I'll give to them handling Luther that way is that he died doing what he loved and doing what he's most known for, which is disarming the bomb, saving the day. It's kind of poetic. It's kind of nice. I get that. I just think the build-up to it was sudden, because it's at the start of the film. Why would you do that? And a little mishandled. But, okay, I buy that. Fair enough. But again, I also loved a lot of what this movie did. The rabbit's foot is the entity. And that is such a satisfying twist. I know it's a little bit of a retcon. I know that some people didn't really care what the rabbit's foot was. I was that person. But to me, this is the series rewarding me, having stuck with this all this time. If you're making this movie and you know it's the last one, you may as well pay off everything that's come before and pull out all the stops and say, hey, what's like the only questions we have from those previous movies? Well, we never learned what that was. That's cool. Plus, it's one of the most memorable ones because of Philip Seymour Hoffman. Benji, I like what they did. I liked how in the third act, he really got to shine, like a lot of great acting coming from him as he's like trying to breathe correctly. And I love his arc over the course of the 5 movies where he starts in Mission 3 as just a computer guy and a tech guy, kind of like Luther. In 4, he becomes a field agent. Then 5 and 6, he actually works with the team. And now, when Ethan knows that the world is in danger and he has to leave, he appoints Simon Pegg's Benji as the team leader. That's an arc. That's a story. And you see his evolution into that role as it goes on. I don't know. I think that was really well handled and well done. So he did great. Hayley Atwell's character. Okay. Love Hayley Atwell. Great actress. Character is very questionable, especially in the same series and same film with Dead Reckoning as Ilsa. And they really fumbled the bag on Ilsa. Basically, what happened behind the scenes was similar with Jeremy Renner, where they're like, hey, we want you back for the series. Jeremy Renner's super busy. He's got other things going on. He's like, I don't really want to do this series. I got Avengers going on. I got Mayor of whatever town going on. So they're like, okay, we're just not going to bring you back. With Rebecca Ferguson, they did the same situation where she's She's doing Dune 2. She's doing all kinds of projects right now. And does she want to come back for like 3 or 4 months' work for like a few scenes? Probably not. So they wrote her out with a climactic death scene. Now, I say climactic in quotes in Dead Reckoning 1. We have just been introduced to Hayley Atwell's character, who throughout the entirety of Dead Reckoning 1 does not want to help Ethan Hunt, does not want to help the team, tries to escape and or swindle the team to get out of there with the key or with whatever, or just generally screws them over. And then Ilsa steps in and sacrifices herself in the third act to save Hayley Atwell's character. Grace, I keep forgetting her name. And it's like, Grace, you're such a bitch. You're such an absolute asshole to everyone around you until the end of Dead Reckoning 1, where you're genuinely part of the team now. Are you worth the trade-off for one of the most interesting characters in the whole series, Ilsa Faust? Ilsa is a great character. In some ways, she got what was coming because in Rogue Nation, she's introduced, and the whole idea behind Rogue Nation is that she's forced to do this. She can't escape her government's orders, right? Ethan finds a way to get her out, and she's escaped. And then in Fallout, she comes right back by choice. Oh, my government didn't let me go, really. I actually have to come back and do this now. And it's like, you kind of had an out, but all right, whatever. You're back in the gig. Ethan, again, and really this time, finds her a way out. And then in Dead Reckoning 1, she's doing her same bullshit again. It's like, bitch. I say this with affection. It's an affectionate bitch. Bitch. Why do you keep coming back? Like, Ethan gave you the opportunity to leave. At this point, the third offense is a choice. Ilsa wants to be back in it. And no matter what Ethan does, he can't keep her out of the business. So, of course, she's going to die in the middle of a mission. So, on that level, I get it and I respect it. I think it would be better served were we not swapping her out with a character that we straight up do not like for the first half of Dead Reckoning 1. So Ilsa got what was coming. I'm not that mad about her death. I'm not even that mad that she's not back in Final Reckoning. It's fine. It is what it is. I respect it. But the Grace character taking her place, she's a far inferior character. She's just not up to par. And she's interesting. Sure, she adds a different layer to the team. You know, no one's a pickpocket on this team yet, I guess, since like Thandie Newton in part 2. But she doesn't get interesting until the end of Dead Reckoning 1. So now she is more interesting here, but this movie didn't give her an ending. And it's an ending to a series. So now I want to see more of her. Are we going to make Mission 9 with just her and not Tom Cruise? It's just a confusing way to end the series by introducing her, making us finally like her a little bit, and then just ending the series cold turkey. It's like, what was the point? Do we get to see anything else? So all right, we'll give him a pass on that one. Not every little character needs a nice little bow on top. This isn't Avengers Endgame. Who are we going to talk about next? Oh, Rolf Saxon. That man. Okay, so this character is a much-needed character. Finally in this series, they're addressing this. Part 1 screwed that character over and then never addressed it for the entire series. And now 30 years later, they bring him back. I had a theory going into the movie that he would actually be the guy who created the entity, and he's out for revenge against Ethan, and that's why the entity is all about Ethan and everything that Ethan's done up to this point, and it's so important. I was dead wrong, and I like it, because I love what they did with the character. Instead, there's a scene, a much-deserved scene, where they finally meet on that, like, plane. And I'm thinking, like, holy shit, this is like the meeting of meetings. Finally gets to see the guy who fucked him over. And Ethan Hunt's like, I owe you my life. I don't know how I'm going to, pay it back for what I did to yours. And Dunlow's like, no, you did exactly what you should have. I thought I was happy in that shit CIA job. And then I've spent the last 30 years in bliss in Alaska. And I met the love of my life. And now I've found what true happiness and peace is, and I owe you. And I'm like, holy shit, what a fucking beautiful... Because it's been 30 years, right? Like, I'm sure at first William Dunlow was pretty angry and would have been the revenge guy I dreamt of Tom Cruise's or whatever. But, like, it's been so long, he's appreciated life up to this point, and then he gives him the knife back. Oh, man, that's such a satisfying scene. It's literally one of the highlights of all 8 movies for me, is that one quick conversation on the plane. Love it. Perfect. It's as satisfying as a fucking stunt. Then they get further into the supporting character, the guy with Briggs, fake Phelps, who is helping him out and then defects to Ethan's team. He doesn't have much to do, not much to say, but he's also not in enough of it where I guess it matters that much. I still would have liked to either see more of him or just cut him out entirely. Mantis, on the other hand, Palm something. I can't pronounce her last name. She's a great character. She's so simplistic, but so fun and so funny. She's like dead serious and barely speaks, and that plays really well for genuine action and drama and comedic effect whenever the story needs it to. So she flawlessly handled. I would say that's like Perfect stuff. But all right, let's get to the cream of the crop here. Ethan Hunt. I had 2 ideas for the perfect ending for this character. He dies saving the day in his final mission and saving the entire world. Or he becomes director of the IMF, the secretary, the voice on tape for the next generation. Both of those would be satisfying conclusions to his character because they would be naturally where he should be ending up after all these years. You either rise all the way to the top and start running the next show, or you literally give yourself to your country doing IMF shit. Those are kind of the 2 possible paths. And what does the movie do? Nothing. It literally just ends it with, I saved the day, I fake died, but actually I'm alive again, I shook someone's hand, and the final shot, I get handed the entity. We all look at each other in like a street, and then just walk separate ways, and the movie ends. It's like, come on, that's just the end of any of the other ones. That scene could have been the ending of 5 or 7 or 6. What does it matter? Why is this the ending of Ethan's character? Why is this a send-off to Hunt? Is it? You build it as the final reckoning. Tom Cruise makes it pretty freaking clear, like, this is the end of the series. Like, I'm done. Now, we've all seen Hugh Jackman say he's done and he's not done. We've seen Sean Connery say he's done and he's not done. We've seen Johnny Depp say he's done. He'll be back. So maybe Tom and McHugh can come together and actually create a really great 9th or 10th or both story. Tom wants to go to space in real life, so hopefully that factors in. But this is not a send-off for him. I don't know why you're building up this as a sequel to like Mission Impossible 1. You're bringing back all the storylines and characters from that movie. That would make sense if it were the ending of the whole series, but it's kind of not. You know, when he saved the day at the end and fell out of the biplane, I haven't talked about the biplane yet. We'll get there. But when he saves the day, falls out of the plane, and his parachute burns, I'm thinking, oh shit, they're doing it. You know what? A worthy end. This is it. You know, he's very, very talented and skilled as a character, but he's also very, very lucky. And it took 30 years, and his luck finally ran out in his most important mission. I think that would be a beautiful send-off to the character. That's just the best way to have gone. But then he's fine again with this entirely different parachute or something. I don't even know what happened. He had a parachute on, he pulls a string, it burns, whatever, and then he has no parachute, and then he has landed on like this big white balloon? Was that there, or did he like have a white balloon? Was it the decompression chamber? Because that wasn't established at all. Even if it was explained, it's still kind of disappointing because like, oh, okay, well, whatever. But then I thought, oh, wait, maybe they are going to do the Secretary of the IMF thing. Okay, all is forgiven, you know? We're going to actually have the end of his arc, his end of his story. He's going to actually accomplish something. No, just gets handed the entity, walks off screen. And I'm sitting there thinking, this is a good movie in the Mission Impossible series, but it's not an ending. Not really. You blew Luther up, right? Again, it's not even that relevant to the story because Ethan Hunt probably would have done what he did in the movie anyway, regardless if Luther blew up or not, so I don't even know why that was even there. But all right, why are we talking about characters or story? Get that all out of here. The stunts! Yo! There's 2 big ones, all right? There's the submarine stunt and the biplane stunt. We'll talk about the biplane at the end. Submarine stunt. Very fun, very exciting. No words, barely any music, all just natural sound effects and Foley and whatever. A jump scare or 2, but it's really exciting. Yeah, is it kind of cheesy that the sub only like, you know, moves when it's relevant to make Ethan scared and rolls over and barely falls out without him dying or whatever. I get that, but it created a satisfying scene. In all these mission movies, I love that Ethan Hunt is constantly in situations where while he's performing whatever the stunt or the heist or whatever else is, not everything, but a lot of things go wrong that he has no idea how to solve, and he, in the moment, has to figure out really cool, clever solutions to them. Could he use more gadgets? There were like virtually no gadgets, and they used the Mission Impossible mask one time. But that submarine sequence was crazy and very entertaining. Real quick, I love the ratio change with the submarine where he cranks the sub open and the bars go up with the cranks every time. That's my favorite use of an aspect ratio change, which normally pisses me off. That's a really creative way to do it. I love that they did that. A little to a lot unbelievable that he's in Arctic waters in underwear for like many minutes, and then Grace jumps in and she spends way too long in the water saving him. Another thing, too, the entity predicted everything that would happen to a T, but then also showed Grace freezing to death on the ice. So I'm thinking, okay, you know, there's no way to prevent that, I guess, but Tom Cruise, he tells her, hey, don't go on the ice for any reason, and then that scene plays out at Dunlow's house where they're like, oh, you know, we'll go off to the Arctic to help Tom Cruise, and she's like, I'll go, because she's doing like spy stuff or whatever. And then she's on the ice. Okay, she disobeyed his orders, but that means she's going to die. And then she doesn't. And there's really no reason why the Entity would have gotten that wrong, but everything else correct. It felt a lot like Sam Stern's in Brave New World, where it's like, I am always right 100% of the time, except not. And he just gets everything fucking wrong, no matter what the plan is. Not that the Entity was that bad, but like, it felt like a flaw. Like, why would you even put that in there? In fact, if she did die freezing to death saving Tom Cruise, that would have been more impactful and a better use of her character. That's a full arc. She starts out in these two movies with nothing to do with them, not caring about them, kind of fun, flirtatious, but also fuck you, let me get mine, steals from everybody, tries to leave, and then she gets inducted into the IMF, and then she sacrifices herself to save Ethan by the end of it. I think that'd be a great story. I would completely appreciate the Grace character a lot more if they did that. Plus, the Entity would not have that plot hole where it'd be actually right that she did die. So, there you go. So the submarine was fun. The biplane. This is one of the greatest stunts I think I've seen. It's probably my favorite IMAX stunt. It was filmed for IMAX. We knew from set photos and the fact that Tom Cruise is Tom Cruise that that scene was more or less entirely practical. They went up in a biplane with cameras and filmed the man dangling off the wing of the plane. And a lot more than the wing. He's all over that damn plane. The plane's going upside down, doing corkscrews. The engine stalls more than once. From the moment that his face goes above the windshield and he has that like fish mouth because the wind's coming in and his hair's like flatted down, I'm like, yeah, that's what would happen. That's exactly what you look like when you're in the air, flying at those speeds. Like, it's so genuine. It feels authentic. And when he's hanging off the plane, whether it's the wing or the body, if he's dangling for his life, the only visual effects are them removing the safety harnesses from the shot. That's it. That's him hanging from the goddamn plane. It is Rogue Nation's plane hang times 1,000. And I love the ingenuity, the creativity in the storytelling when Gabriel is flying around in circles trying to get him off the wing, and he repeats this tactic in his pattern a few times, and Ethan's just there basically in zero G while he's like soaring around on the wing and the plane spiraling. I love to see real world physics because you're actually shooting it for real and it's actually what happens. If that was on a green screen and a soundstage, he would have been pinned against the wing when they're rotating, but in reality, you would float there for a bit. That's how that works. Anyway, I love that Ethan was so creative and that he saw the pattern and then wrapped his legs around the part that was going to be useful and then, boom, stops it. And then you just see visually with the storytelling, he can't shift the gear knob, looks over, Tom Cruise looks back at him. Oh, it is on. And he runs over and punches him in the head. Dude, the best. That's, I don't know if I want to say it's my favorite stunt in the series, but it's easily top 3 stunts in Mission Impossible. My favorite Mission Impossible scene, like heist or action or stunt scene, is the CIA break-in in part 1. Biplanes might be second. And for all the flaws this movie has, and I can keep pointing them out, that makes it so worth the runtime. This movie takes you and takes its time, and it delivers on all of the fun. But speaking of fun, it's not exactly the same tone as the other McHugh Mission Impossible movies. For one, it barely uses the Mission Impossible theme. It uses it like once. The rest of the score is this really somber, slow. Every scene is so dark and sad and depressing. It doesn't get the blood pumping. It doesn't make you invested like, oh yeah, let's rob this place. Let's blow this place up. Let's go on a car chase, Let's go on an action scene. They have action. They have plenty of action. There's a really cool knife fight in Tom Cruise in his underwear, which is kind of funny. But they don't play the Mission Impossible theme for the Mission Impossible scenes. I feel like that's arguably the most missed opportunity in the series where the theme music is easily one of the best possible parts of the entire series. Again, biplane scene, no notes, it's perfect. There isn't music for the biplane scene for the most part. That's a benefit. I love the naturalistic feeling of that. It, again, blows you away. Really worth it. Worth the price of admission alone just for that scene on the poster. By the way, one of the best posters for a film I've ever seen in my life. I want this on my wall. So it was really satisfying at a lot of parts, and then a lot of questionable decisions were made as well, and I don't know how to feel about it at the end of the day. I think I liked it. I was disappointed in how they handled some of the characters. Some of their arcs, some of their stories made no sense whatsoever. Even Ethan's, which I wish got a proper send-off, kind of didn't. I'm going to say 2 things. One is going to sound really nice, and one is going to sound really mean. This is the second worst one, but I liked it, and aside from part 2, I like all of them. I love Some of them. Just rank it real quick. Worst is Mission Impossible 2. The only bad movie in the series. It does not fit tonally. None of the characters come back. None of it matters. It's on a different planet, this movie. It does nothing to do with anything. Number 7 is Final Reckoning. That's kind of where I feel right now. I like it, but I like all the other ones more, except 2. Number 6 is Mission Impossible 3. Solid movie. Very decent. Really bolstered up by that villain. Owen Davian is probably the best villain in the series. Number 5 is Fallout. Some people have this as a number 1. I totally see why. I respect it, but it's a brilliant movie, excellent movie. However, there are just 4 films that are better than it. One of them is number 4, Dead Reckoning Part 1. Excellent film. I love the car chase. It's so satisfying to watch and so fun, entertaining. And it's how to do a part 1 of 2 while having a conclusionary ending. Dead Reckoning 1 had a more conclusive ending than Final Reckoning because he gets the key, which is what the whole movie's about. Number 3 is Ghost Protocol. One of my favorite opening scenes to any film ever. With the prison breakout. It just puts a smile on your face. Tom Cruise's hair is way too long, but other than that, the film's perfect. Number 2 is Mission Impossible. The first one, very near and dear to my heart. This is a 10 out of 10 from me. This and Scarface are my 2 favorite Brian De Palmas of all time. I can watch them any day of the week. And number 1 is Rogue Nation, which people like, but don't like as much as I do. I think this is a masterpiece. It's everything Mission should be, all wrapped up into one really satisfying story. So that's how I feel right now. Final Reckoning could go up. It's just impossible to go down because I don't hate it like 2. It's just, there's no possible way. Of the good ones, it is the weakest of the good ones. I will say that. But it's still good. And shit, the biplane sequence, man. That might put it above part 3 if I really think about it. I gotta really sit on that one. But yeah, but this is how I feel right now. Should I choose to accept it? This video will self-destruct in 5 seconds. Good luck, Ethan.